What's going on, good people? We are back for another episode of Underrated and Overlooked Podcast. Man, very busy morning. Sorry we didn't start at our usual 12 o'clock time, but thanks for all the people that are waiting and to tune into the show today, man. We are jam packed. We got a lot of stuff to talk about. But Craig, week one is in the books. As you said yesterday, this is our first week one show. We kind of started mid season last year. So how excited are you to kind of talk about week one in high school football in Georgia?
I'm pumped. I think week one, getting big victories. I think Coach Bruner said it best, that it sets the tone for the entire season.
No, 100%. And speaking of, do you want to start with our all Corky team or do you want to start with just like week one standout performers?
Let's go standout performers.
Okay, so I'll let you go. We're gonna do guys about 4 to 5 players we thought that stood out, not just Corky, but all across the state of Georgia. I definitely have a couple, but I'll let you go with your first one, Craig. Who was one of your standout kind of guys?
Well, let's start day one on Wednesday. I thought it was Antonio White of Parkview. He is an outstanding athlete. He actually made Todd Holcomb's list. They were talking about all his defensive contributions in that game, but you and I watched it. It was not just defense. It
No,
was huge special teams plays.
yeah,
The block punt, the punt return on the safety. The result of that, I mean, without those big special teams plays, Parkview doesn't dominate that game. He came up. I think he's going to be an outstanding player. Just I was impressed with his athleticism and just ability to just make his number seen on the field.
no, 100%. I totally agree with you. Him having a punt block was huge. Then returning the subsequent pretty much return for a touchdown. I think that was big. He definitely showed out and showed why he's one of the better players and stay committed to Rutgers. I think for me, man, it's a freshman. Not a lot of people are talking about. His name is Teddy Gerard. He went 11 for 15, 244 yards, 3 touchdowns. I thought, just his first game was really impressive. And to be a freshman throwing the ball like that, I think, that's next level, man. He really impressed me with his ball placement at a young age. He's elusive in the pocket, good pocket presence. So, man, one of my standout performers got to be Teddy Gerard. Like I said on Twitter, if you're not or if you don't know about this guy, this is one to definitely know about before the season is over, or just before he eventually blows up, which I think he will. He's very humble and he has a good command of the offense, man. So that's one of my standouts.
Awesome.
Yeah,
No, completely agree. So
yeah,
you want to just go 4 or 5?
yeah,
All right. How about Travis Terrell? So
yeah.
Creek, he's a Creekside absolute stud. Led them in carries, played defense, and watching him dominate that game in all facets, it reminded me last year of like a John Tavius Curry for Thompson when
Mm,
he just took over the game and helped lead them to the state title. I think Travis Terrell has that similar ability for Creekside, just in the big game, taking 17 carries, getting in the end zone on offense, then going in on defense and making plays. You look at his stats, and in that Kennesaw Mountain game, he had the pick late that ended up getting falsely called pass interference. He jumped the route, took it to the house. He would have had an even better stat line. And I believe Coach Dixon, what he said, I asked him, you think he's one of the best players in all 5A? He said, I think he's one of the best players in the state. And it's not just his one position, it's his ability to just make an impact in the game.
no, 100%. I mean, and that was a name that came up a lot, right? That name came up in our high school media day this past year. That name came up when we talked to him last season as well in some of their games. So obviously, he's been kind of that staple person for that Creekside program. And as they said in the booth, like he was just all over the field, right? He was running the ball, toting the rock, and he was also playing defense and playing corner. And they really robbed him at the end of that pick six that he had. He
Yep.
just beat the receiver to the ball, man. And it was just an outstanding play. That's something you can't coach. He just had the instinct, knew it, studied his film, knew where the ball was going, and then he just went and capitalized on the ball. I mean, you can't get to me much better than that. So I thought he had a great performance, great, by you, Craig, by just pointing him out. He won our defensive player of the game. I think he won MVP as well. So he just had an outstanding performance, man. And last year we were really high on Creekside because we just felt they had all the weapons and pieces. But this year it's the same thing. I think having Makai Baru, who's going to Florida, you got Travis Terrell. They got a really good running back room. The receivers are underrated. They got a guy they didn't barely even use in Dylan Vickerson, who's a heavily recruited player in the 25 class. And then you throw on top of that Shane Kelly, who had a breakout performance. I don't know if that was on there for you, but as another guy that had a really great Corky as well. So I mean, Creekside got all the things they want to do, and they got a really good line too. So great by you, Craig, pointing him out. Another guy for me is actually going to be Sire Hardaway, right? We're going to get to see him up close and personal this week. I can't wait. He's a breakout performer, 21 for 26, 246 yards, 9 rushes for 44 yards, total of 5 touchdowns, 5 incompletions to 4 touchdowns. That is like video game like numbers. You don't see that every day. So I'm really excited for him. He got some love from Matt Stewart, I saw as well. So he's gonna be a lot of fun to watch, right? Last year we got a nice thriller, 49-41 game between Douglas and Mays, or Douglas County and Mays. So I can't wait to see him up close and personal. And this year he got a lot of weapons. Not that last year he didn't. He had Monte Gooden, he had Deuce Alexander, but this year he may even have better weapons, right? Aaron Gregory's there, top player in 2026 class. I think he's rated a 4-star. He's going to have James Johnson. He's going to have a good running back core. He just has a lot of pieces he can just throw the ball to, and I can't wait to see him out there in person. And the throws and reads he was making, man, I was telling him on Twitter, the cameraman was just so focused on the other players. I'm like, no, focus on 13, like focus on what he's doing, how he's reading the offense. And as Coach Johnny White said, I feel like he has total command of our offense. He knows where the blocks are going to be. He knows how to get everybody in position. Coach Johnny White said he is the offensive coordinator on the field for us. I think that's a profound statement that he said when I talked to him this past week about Sire Hardaway. So that just goes to show you how much he values him, how important he is to their team and their success. And as a lot of people are, they're high on Douglas County. And you were one of the only ones that had him in the rankings prior to the season started. And I think they have a good chance of being a state title contender this year.
Yeah, and they're going to be so fun to watch. He spreads the ball out extremely well. I don't necessarily get all the old school football references that sometimes Rusty makes, but he compared him to Warren Moon and the old school Houston Oilers, just how that offense is able to spread the ball out. And I think that's what you're going to see. Last year, he was on a blistering pace, had like 3,000 yards, like 2 or 3 games? Or sorry, he had, what was it, 2,000 yards 4 games in or something like that?
Yeah, 4 or 5 games. Yeah. He was number 5 in the state in passing, for sure.
Yeah, he was averaging like 400 yards a game, just blowing it up, and it ends up getting hurt, comes back. But then what happened without his presence? I mean, they had to rely on the run. They struggled. So it's clear he is their team leader. It's his senior season. He's confident in any matchup. He's going to go out there and they're going to try to win huge. They aren't going out there to play games.
No, they're going
to go out and trying to put up 50 on Mays this week. So it will be an unbelievable matchup, and opportunity to see him play.
Yeah,
that's what it's all about. He is definitely one of the most exciting competitors out there.
For sure. And then that's 2-2, I think, for us. So I'm going to throw it to Craig. I know he got another standout performer from this week that he wanted to highlight.
Let's go to another quarterback with Jeremy Heklinski, another guy that is oozing with confidence. I'll tell you that. Seeing him, how he handled that game against Grayson, it was what we expected. But I mean, the confidence level of him is unbelievable. When he's throwing those touchdowns, then afterwards releasing the bow and arrow, it's just automatic with him. And Walton's got even more weapons this year. Man, Cam Lloyd looks phenomenal. You got Bam McBride. You got Jude Cascone coming in.
Hunter Teal.
Hunter Teal. You got Ashton Woods coming in at fullback, catching a touchdown pass. Jeremy, 4 touchdowns the first game, almost 5. One got called back at the 1-yard line. And then he didn't even play the fourth quarter. So, I mean, in terms of a week 1 performance, he doesn't get much better than that. He did everything right. He had 1 interception that was late in the game, under pressure, throws it up, long pass, not really consequential mistake right there.
No, 100%. I mean, real quick on that, I don't think you can have a better debut. He just knew where he wanted to go with the ball. A lot of people said, "Oh, well, the offensive line was great," which it was, but a lot of it too was just him knowing where he wanted to go with the football. The offense, besides the fumble, just looked like it was in order the whole game. They knew where they wanted to go, and it just looked like a mismatch, And I think Jeremy's really, really good, man. And a lot of people are starting to finally wake up with what we've been saying since early last year. I think week 1, me and Craig were saying how good we think he is, how elite of a quarterback he is. And as I've said on record, and you can go back and go look, I had them going into being a Buford, and he was one of the big reasons why. Obviously, Coach Bruner with spewing with confidence, and then obviously just him as a quarterback. So another great performer. I think for me, Craig, I think you pointed out that Sandy Creek ran for 400 plus yards. I think you said
501. I think,
501 yards.
let's see, we'll get a confirmation on that. They were a school record 502 rushing yards, six
That's
touchdowns on the ground.
insane. And Amari Latimer accounted for 274 of those yards, 25 carries and 2 touchdowns. He is my
Yep.
standout performer from this last week. I just think he's going to have a big sophomore season, man. I mean, we got to see him up close and personal at a Corey Kell 707 Invitational, and the guy fills out well. He doesn't look like a sophomore running back. Very elusive, man, dangerous in the open field. I mean, he's just a dude. And I think people are finally starting to wake up to him. But I mean, if you're looking for a guy, a running back that you want to be dynamic, and you're looking to have on your team on the next level, as far as college, I mean, this is the guy. I mean, I was just blown away with his performance and how magnificent he was on the ground. And man, I mean, if Sandy Creek is doing that, you don't even need to pass the ball. I think that's been some of our questions: how good are they going to be in the passing game? But if Amari Latimer and they're running the ball like that, who's going to stop them? You know what I'm saying? So I think that's gonna be a good test to see throughout the season, if they stay like that or if they do other things, but, I mean, a lot Amari Latimer, standout performer, phenomenal performance in week 1, you get my standout player. I think of week 1, man, I mean, that's just phenomenal, almost 300 yards rushing on the ground,
Yep, against
next
a
level.
good Noonan team.
Yeah,
So that's huge. Yeah, school record. We saw Sandy Creek in the 7-on-7, and we're like, okay, they look a little young out there.
they did.
Well, I guess they're going to be fine running the ball before they
Yeah,
get going offensively. So I was definitely impressed with that. Shout out to their offensive line, too. And speaking of offensive line, Daniel Calhoun is my next stand-up performer, the big left tackle, the transfer to Walton, 6'8", UGA commit. I was really looking forward to seeing this debut. We knew Grayson's got a just really talented physical defense. I wanted to see how he was able to handle it. He played at Centennial last year. Yeah, they played some tough matchups. They didn't necessarily play the big 7A Gwinnett schools, but watching him in that game, his conditioning, his power, his understanding of the game, what he's brought to that offensive line for Walton that already is solid, but they've never had the size that he brings. He is a true game changer. I don't think they would have been as dominant or balanced without him anchoring that line. And I just thought it was a perfect debut for him. Played extremely hard, played tough, was just pancaking dudes all over the place, and just really just bringing that physical aspect to the Walton line.
Yeah, 100%, man. I mean, he was just mulling defenders, man, and like I said, I don't think Walton has had a staple left tackle or anchor tackle in quite some time, and he definitely solidifies that for them. And I think too, man, overall, just like I want to give a standout too to just the Walton offensive line. Right, it wasn't just Calhoun, even though he had a breakout performance and great performance as well. But they gave him so much protection. I think he only got pressure a couple times throughout the game, and they did a great job. And if that's the line that Jeremy's going to have, man, I mean, there's nothing stopping that Walton offense, right? He's already a seasoned pro at this point, 3rd year coming in as a starter for Jeremy. Already got great weapons that know the offense and Cameron Lloyd, Wyatt Sonderman, and Hunter Teal. I mean, I think the sky's the limit for that offense. So you got that guy on the left tackle, and then the rest of your line can kind of match up like that. I mean, they're a dangerous team.
100%. And people are going to look at that game. Jeremy had some plays where he was under a little pressure, did a good job moving around, but that Grayson defense is going to give offenses problems
Fits
all
for sure,
season. So
for sure.
that I think will show exactly how good that Walton offensive line is when you see what Grayson's able to do in the coming weeks, just getting after the quarterback and disrupting plays. But yeah, Walton's offensive line certainly held their own, dominated from the start, putting up 35 points in that first half. And then, do you want to give your next one?
Yeah,
Okay,
I'll
we'll
go.
switch it up.
My next one is I gotta give love to Devin Henderson. Even though they lost, 15 tackles, he was just fine over the ball. I think he had 9 or 10 solos. Definitely a great player for them. A kind of disappointing debut, but the good thing is it's a non-region game, right? Doesn't really mean nothing in the whole realm of things, right? Obviously, you want to win them all, but I think that'll be a great growing tool for them, just going forward for them. And if he can continue to perform like that, I think they'll be fine. My big thing on Cash, real quick, is just the turnovers, right? I thought they were in it for a lot of the game. There's 14-0. They got a big stop right before half. You thought, okay, hey, they got some momentum coming out. If they could just come down on the turnovers a little bit, I think they'll be fine. It was in that game with Rome throughout, all the way up into the fourth quarter. They had 3 turnovers, I think, in the first quarter. Like, things like that, you're not gonna be able to win, right? And I think that'll be their big test this year with Coach Stephen Gates, who does a great job. Just, can they handle adversity? Can they not turn over the ball? Other than that, sky's the limit. They got 3 D1 prospects on their offensive line. They have a pretty good quarterback in Brody McWhorter, who had, he didn't have his best game, but that was his first kind of start, as a sophomore. So got so much talent. So Kobe White and Devin Henderson and other players, they'll be fine. I'm sure they'll be competitive. They have a tough region, but I think they'll be fine. They'll kind of rebound. And I think Rome kind of solidified themselves as kind of the class of 6A, kind of as another one of those contenders we'll throw in there with along with a Gainesville, a Langston Hughes, um, a Douglas
Roswell.
County, a Roswell. I think you could throw Rome in that category as well.
100%. And Cass could not run the ball in that game.
No.
They've got some good offensive line prospects, but it's like good size at 3 positions, and then they got 2 small, just ate them up, forced them into third down. So not only did they have the turnovers, I mean, their efficiency on third down and fourth down just was not there. And I think the longest play, I brought it up yesterday, was like a 14-yard play. So we knew Cass would be explosive, but that's just how they could not get anything going. And then once Rome made them one-dimensional offensively, they just pinned their ears back, rushed. So many guys made life absolutely hell for the passing game on third down and got a shutout. So, yeah, that was certainly impressive. But, yeah, Devin Henderson, I don't think he came off the field the entire game.
No, I don't think he did either, and he was great.
Yep, and so I guess I got one more, and that is CJ Givers.
Yes.
Definitely a big performance to kick off his sophomore season of Fellowship Christian. 4 touchdowns all in the first half, a 93-yarder, I think 220 yards, 14 carries, just completely dominated, looked outstanding, was patient running the ball, had the breakaway speed, clearly just the best athlete on the field. So I thought Fellowship was really impressive, him especially. I'm kind of expecting him to hit easily 2,000 yards this season, probably close to 30 touchdowns. He's going to have a massive career and season for sure.
No, 100%. And my last one, just as far as a guy I thought flew under the radar, Griffin Marshall for Woodward Academy. He had a great debut, 2 incompletions, 14 for 16, over 200 plus yards passing, 2 touchdowns. And I point him out because that's been my biggest question is, it was obviously QB battle, 4 touchdowns for Griffin Marshall. That's been my biggest thing, right? Who's going to be the guy for Woodward Academy this season as far as the quarterback? We know they got weapons, right? We know they got Andrew Hines on defense, right? We know they got Josiah Abdullah. We know they have Jerome Bettis Jr. We know all these weapons that they have. But will the quarterback be able to deliver them the ball? And I think that was our biggest question with Parkview as well, going into the season. But I feel like he can. I feel like he knows there's no nervousness when I look at his highlights. He was throwing the ball on dots. He was getting it out of his hands quickly, but it wasn't rushed. And if he can have those kind of performances, then we got to also think of Woodward Academy as another contender in 6A. As far as all the talent they have, I think that's been the biggest thing with some of the question marks around Woodward Academy. Talented, 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 but can they perform, when the lights are brightest? So he's my kind of standout performer as well. I thought he had a good debut week 1, and if he can keep that up and continue to get better and better, then Woodward Academy can also be another dangerous team out there in 6A.
100%. Woodward's going to be playing, it looks like, McCallie, Tennessee next. That will be a big matchup for them for sure. And they got Marist on the scoreboard, and then a pretty favorable region. They do have that Jonesboro game.
Yeah, that'll be a really interesting one to watch, especially with Jonesboro being a lot better this season.
And I didn't put it on the list, but I think Gavin Hall had a big impact in that Gainesville game. Kind of looked like Christian McCaffrey out there, taking the bulk of the carries, also making big plays in the passing game. We knew he was going to play a big role. So I think in terms of a debut with the transfer, you're talking about the Woodward quarterback, him going to Gainesville was obviously the big key for them. They needed to replace Naeem Cheeks, and it looks like Gavin Hall's the guy.
100%. So before we go to our all Cody team, and make sure you guys comment below if you think we got it right or wrong. Appreciate everybody tuning in. We got a comment from Jimmy. Make sure you throw your comments in the comment box. He says, Creekside travels to Mater Day. Do you think they have a chance, a slim chance? I mean, they were impressive. They were dominant in certain parts of that game. Did they make mistakes? Yes, but it's the first game. Mater Day is obviously a national program. They got so much talent, so much D1 talent on their roster. But what I will tell you is that Coach Dixon, and he won kind of our coach of the whole PKL, he has them ready to play always, right? They're gonna make mistakes, but he really gets into them, and I think he produces the best as far as getting his players ready to go and getting them ready for big games. And I feel like they shine bright normally in big games. And like I said, last year they made it all the way, I believe, to was it quarters or semis? Semis, right? I know they've lost to Warner
Mm,
Robins. I forget if it was quarter or semis, but they made it far. That was a double overtime game, right? And he got so much talent that he could just throw the ball to, right? Vincent Berry returns for another year. Travis Terrell, Roger McCreary playing both sides of the ball and running back, keeping both of those guys fresh, right? Good receivers and Shane Kelly who have the kind of coming out party, right? And then you got Dylan Vickerson, who's a heavily recruited player. And their offensive line is big and huge. Without a doubt, I think they definitely have a puncher's chance in that one. I'm not going to say they're going to win, but they got a puncher's chance. And if they defense can create turnovers like they did against, Kennesaw Mountain, then they definitely have a chance. And don't be surprised if you see some Georgia schools this year upsetting or not even upsetting, just beating top teams across the country. We've seen Buford do it. I think Creekside has the potential to do it too. So we'll find out.
yeah, and when you first highlighted this game was gonna be on the schedule, we looked back and, I mean, prior to the last, like, 4 years, Creekside had never played, like, an out-of-state school. Uh, they've been slowly becoming that recognized program. Obviously, guys like Eric Berry coming out of it have helped put them on the map and just all their incredible the state championship run, all these college athletes. But you look at their schedule this year, they only have 3 home games. They travel up to Rome, get the win. So I think you're in a situation with Coach Dixon, his staff. This is a very tight knit team. They aren't worried about the travel. I think they can handle that extremely well and just go out there, focus, and play just like any other game.
No, 100%. So that's gonna be again to watch Jimmy. That's our thoughts on it. Should be a lot of fun. But let's go ahead and go to our quickie list before we get the rest of our comments. We appreciate you guys so much. We're gonna go ahead and share the screen. We did get some backlash from it, but hey, it is a quirky list. It is not an all-state list. But this is our thoughts. Me and Craig voted. Obviously offense for all quirky team, we had Jeremy. I think that's kind of clear cut right there. Cam Robinson, CJ Givers, Jonathan Stafford, Jamari Harold, Shane Kelly, Daniel Calhoun, Aiden Banfield, John Daniel Smith, Makai Baru, and also Josh Petty. As far as the receivers, I had heavy in this one. I just think those performances were next level, right? All of those receivers either had over 100 yards or 2 touchdowns. I thought Jonathan Stafford was really impressive to me what he did against North Forsyth. He just looks like he's a great elite route runner. He's played against some of the best competition at a young age. I talked to one of his coaches, and he said some of the guys he went up against, which I think has just made him the player he is today, going against stellar competition. And as I said, Shane Kelly was dominant also for Creekside, a mismatch in the open field. And then Jamari Harold kind of stole the show for me, right? He said how he got to where he was, and it was just like he got better because going up against that really good Norcross secondary and Antonio Mulder and others, and I thought that's what made him better because he said he was even a one-trick pony, but going up against them in workouts, this constant competition made him better where he's not just a 9 guy. He can go across the middle of the field. He can high point the football. He's a big catch radius. And, I didn't know. I'm gonna be honest. I didn't know a lot of players on Norcross, but a couple, and obviously Motor was one of them. But if he has, and AJ Watkins is another, if he has that kind of performance throughout the season, I mean, that's a mismatch nightmare. And if teams are going to double him, then they can run it down your throat, or they can use AJ Watkins in different situations and put pressure on defense and make it tough.
Yeah. So let's talk about Norcross real quick. They scored on every single possession. They did not have to until those were in at the end of the game when it should have been a running clock, but Marietta was doing onside kicks. They did not have to punt. They moved the ball that efficiently, even though they replaced all those guys. It's because Jamari Harold was, as you said, behind that loaded receiving class. He
Yeah,
steps up.
yeah.
Who's going to be the top guy? He shows right away. The big uh, catch down the field, mossing the guy, dragging defenders in there. That got them going and definitely solidified him. He 100% deserves there. And as you mentioned, every one of those receivers had at least 2 trips to the end zone.
Yep.
Shane Kelly, Jonathan Stafford. definitely dominated. And then I think what also stands out on that list, I mean, the offensive line, those guys, you
Dudes.
got John Daniel Smith at center, a 3-year starter for Brookwood. He was absolutely huge in leading the Broncos to just like a physical win over McEachern, where they just ran the ball at the end and were able to come away and steal that win. I think he was key right there. Aiden Banfield, another multi-year starter. We already talked about Calhoun. Michael Perot at Creekside. You saw how much success they had running the ball. And then Josh Petty, can't understate his impact in that game.
No.
He was throwing people over.
Yeah, that was just incredible. Just not even just the offensive line, but defensive line
Yep,
just coming off the edge. Matt Stewart pointed it out, and I mean, it was just incredible. I mean, just disruptive ability that he has, and just how agile. I think that jumped out on the page. That was my first time seeing him, and how agile he was moving. I thought was just incredible. So that was our all Corky offensive team, and then we did a defensive team as well. Jeremy Johnson had a really good game for Parkview. We thought Justin Terrell stepped up big. Wendell Gregory, you know, question marks around him. I don't know why. Obviously, he's going to South Carolina for a reason. One of the top players in the country. I don't know why there was questions about Wendell, but I digress. But yes, I mean, what he had like 2.5 tackles for loss, multiple sacks, was getting behind that defensive line, and we pointed out on a halftime show, Craig. We said if their defensive line is that good, that makes the job so much easier for the secondary who look faster, better, more, kind of fine-tuned in a sense. But if their defensive line, like if Wendell and number 78 is getting that kind of pressure, that makes their job easier, and then they're able to get the quarterback and speed up his process. And it seems like Jeff Davis always had 1 or 2, 3 seconds, and then he had to get rid of the football because they were on him. So,
exactly. And one more thing about Wendell, you
yeah,
look at his highlights last year, he had multiple interceptions.
yeah,
He can cover in the pass. He's extremely fast. You mentioned yesterday ran like I think 11.3 in the 100-meter. He rushes the passer. He can set the edge. He can get out in the perimeter and make plays. He's so versatile. So then, yeah, Grayson gets the turnover early.
yep,
They're in a third down. Let's see if they can do anything. Boom, fumble.
yep,
He just flies back there with was it Adokwe, the guy going to Yale, number 78.
yep,
He also had a big impact.
yep.
Yeah, Wendell Greger's all over the place. I definitely think he stood out just his physical presence and versatility. And then I like Kanan Edwards
Yeah,
as a
great coming out.
very interesting prospect to watch this year. He's
Yes.
absolutely massive. Played, I think, power forward, hybrid forward on the basketball team. Decided to come out to play football and ended up just showing his just physical skill set in that matchup and earning defensive player of the game.
Yep, 100%. I like James McCullough for West Forsyth. I feel like he was flying all over to the ball, 9 tackles, 2.5 tackles for loss. Only a junior, but he had a great just debut for his junior season. He's gonna be a big part of the success of West Forsyth this upcoming season. So he really impressed me.
All in
Ruffin,
the first half too.
yep, and then Ruffin in England, they were just all over the football. I mean, you can't really coach that any better. They just seemed to have a nose for the ball, and they was just disruptive for both sides, for Mill Creek and McEachern. And then obviously we mentioned Travis Terrell at the start. Just does so much stuff well. Kind of robbed of a pick six, I thought, in our opinion. He had a really, really great game, and if he's playing that way defensively, that makes Creekside even better. And obviously Joe Wilkinson for Rome, one defensive player of the game, was another disruptive kind of player for Rome, was a big reason why they pitched that shutout. And then obviously Mulder was the leading tackler last year, came back, set the tone, 9 tackles for him. And then Devin Henderson had the most tackles the whole weekend, right? 15 tackles for him. Very, playing both sides of the ball. Had a turnover, but I mean, you can't really coach it any better how he played defensively. He tried, gave his heart out, did all he could. And then for our specialist, John Rodriguez, he hit the most field goals out of everybody and had the longest one. And then Darius Malcolm, I mean, what a performance, right? 2 kickoff returns for touchdowns, really just kinda set the tone for them. He really impressed me. He didn't get the defense part, but he just came down one play. They were up like 41 or 34-7, and he just, like, came up and laid a stick while they was just up, and I was just like, "Yo, he's playing both sides of the
Yeah.
ball, and he's doing things like this." I mean, he was really, really impressive.
Yeah, so much speed. I want to talk real quick though about Rome that we did mention on how they were able to shut out Cass. They had so many pass breakups, and then at the
Yes.
line of scrimmage, their defensive line and linebackers just kept batting down balls. So we talked about the upcoming matchup, Rome against Carrollton. If they can bat down balls just anywhere near that rate, that's definitely something that it doesn't come naturally. They practice that.
No, 100%, and you can tell Coach John Reed always has, and it seems like obviously I'm still new to the realm. It's only my second full year covering the Craig, second and a half, I guess you could say. But it seems like Coach Reed always has some really good defenses, and he always has the guys trained up, and he always like he got one guy going D1 or something on that roster, right? You got Wilkinson going to Appalachian State. I think Terrell's going to NC State. It just seems like he always got a guy on that defense, and obviously it's a collective unit, but it seems like he always able to get the most out of his defense.
Yep, 100%. And yeah, if you can clog up lanes, just get your hands up at the right time, that makes a huge difference. And speaking of, I think I'm the only person that remembers this. Daniel Calhoun blocked a PAT in that
He
game.
did.
Yep.
He did. That's a good point out as well. He actually did. Yeah, he was moving and yeah, he actually blocked it. And that kind of like set the tone. Like obviously, Grayson came back, they got a kickoff return for John Senior's. And then, they went down and I mean he ends up blocking it. It kind of just sets the tone for the
Yeah,
rest of the
that was
game. Like
awesome.
got momentum and then it's like, dang, we can't even get a field, we can't even get a PAT. So no, 100%. Yeah, that's a good point about you. And then last but not least, guys, our honorable mentions: Justin Logan, Ashton Woods. We thought they just had good games. Justin Logan, right? Even in the losing effort, all over to the ball. He wasn't afraid to come down and hit some of those big running backs for Parkview. He really impressed us going to Arkansas. Ashton Woods going to UNC. Roger McCurry was 0. He won, I think, offensive player of the game or defensive, whichever. He did win one of our player of the games. Can't remember off the top of my head, but he was just incredible. Thought really enjoyed how he played. Obviously all the athletes was Antonio White, AJ Watkins. They were just all over the field. Antonio White, as you mentioned at the start of our show, just everywhere, man. Blocking the punt, right? Getting the safety, returning the on-swing kickoff. Just a great player for Parkview. AJ Watkins, same thing, 100 yards passing. I think he had 100 yards rushing. And then he had special teams as well. So he's a great athlete for him. And then Zealous Hicks is another guy. I mean, you talk about a guy has a lot of hype going into his sophomore year. And I'm gonna say this, Craig, he had the play of the game, right? Because Parkview got shut out in the second half. They didn't score a single point offensively. He comes out of nowhere on a blitz from the DP position, and he just hit Bryce Cleveland so hard and forced the fumble that was returned by Ira Singleton. That just changed the game because you gotta think about it. They were driving, they was going down, and then the play before Clavin threw the ball, and it looked it was a catch by Kell, and he at the very last moment he breaks it up. So those two back-to-back plays I thought was just incredible. That's why he won defensive player of the game. And I thought he lived up to the billing just in his first, obviously he played some last year, but being like kind of that, he's going to be a starter. It was donned a 4-star by 247 Sports going before the game even started. I thought he really lived up to the billing.
And I thought what was so funny was after the game, he said he wasn't supposed to blitz on that play.
No.
But I mean, getting to Bryce Clavin, that's no easy task.
No.
I mean, that is a fast guy at the quarterback position, but he saw him and just went for it and made the play of the game, as you said. So, yeah, a very impressive sophomore. Absolutely.
No, 100%. And the last ones we had was obviously Reese Fountain, Foster Orris, and then Trajan Greco. I mean, Greco was just we couldn't leave him off the list. I think his mom tunes into our shows as well and watched her content, so we appreciate her. But Greco was just so impressive in the bins. Like he had 2 touchdowns, 2 long ones. I remember watching when I was interning a couple years ago, and he was playing kind of offense, and we got to see that again. And just it's like a guy that's just a deep ball guy, always kind of just making that big play. And he did that again. So it was just a guy I could not leave off the list. And Reese Fountain, obviously, getting love as a top 10 quarterback in the state of Georgia. Only had 5 incompletions, had 3 touchdowns, had a pretty good performance, for the Rome Wolves as well.
Yep, I think he's like 75%. He made some great throws on third down to the boundaries, just looked really comfortable and confident out there. It was definitely pumped when they went ahead early. And then you got Foster Orris, who'll play a huge role. West Forsyth always has great running backs. We saw Peyton Straco last year get that Clemson scholarship, and then Trajan Greco. I think he showed that Mill Creek this year is going to be able to get those big plays. Justin Content caught one.
Yeah.
Shane Throgmartin definitely can throw the deep ball. And then when you can run the ball with Cam Robinson like they can, watch out. Trajan will get open, and he's a guy that plays great defense as well.
No, 100%. So, That was our cookie list that we voted on. That's what we got. We shared it all yesterday. Appreciate everybody that showed love and tuned into it. We got a lot, in store for this season. Hall of Fame event we got eventually coming up. We got our drive for the GHSA state title. Craig got his show tomorrow. So we got a lot of content on the way. So we appreciate all you guys tuning in and watching obviously our Corky games as well, and for all the support. But Craig, so any other topics you want to hit as far as high school that just stood out to you before we go to college?
Let's see. I had the big performances up. Well, I thought the Buford one. We talked about it a little bit. I expect them to win that game. Uh, Looks like the defense is,
For real?
yeah, for real. I heard from people that were there to watch the whole thing. They said there were some issues with the offensive line. Rolla was under pressure, but he handled it well. KJ Bolden did his thing. So I'm interested to see it. Buford's first in-state game is going to be against North Cobb. North Cobb definitely did not get the result they wanted against Westlake, who absolutely dominated that game. I was surprised. I think North Cobb is going to be a great team this year, but man. And then I did want to point this out. I thought this was impressive. South Forsyth kicker Davis Little hit a 60 and 57 yarder in that first win.
It's
So
pretty impressive.
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, you don't really see kickers hitting 60 yards, especially in high school. You see a little bit more in college. It's even rare in the NFL.
Yeah,
Like,
I think
yeah, for sure. So if you're hitting those at high school, yeah, you definitely go play, Power 5, I think, in my opinion. So
well, let's talk about the Milton Collins Hill. What do you think
Yeah,
what do you think that means for both teams going forward?
I think it's like what I told you at the beginning of the season, right? A lot of people wrote off Collins Hill and said, "Oh yeah, Coach Swick, they're not going to do anything this year. Yeah, they might barely make the playoffs. They might be a sub 500 team." I think what it showed you is that Collins Hill is for real, and everybody's going to figure that out. And I'm not saying they're a contender in 7A. It's not what I'm saying, but I think they're going to be a very competitive team, and that's what I was trying to tell everybody going into the season, because I think Coach Swick was their defensive coordinator. He already got some dudes on the D line, right? Cottrell Webb, Deuce Gerald's offensively, TJ Wilcox. He got CJ Hector. They got some guys, and they hung tough with a good Milton team. And I know everyone's like, "Oh, well, Milton maybe not be that good," but Milton is one of my sleepers out in 7A. But I think that Collins Hill just showed, okay, hey, they're not going to be kind of that team you can just walk all over, that you could just do whatever you want to. They're going to compete. They're going to battle. So I think that game was more of a testament to Collins Hill and what they're going to be this season. And they're going to be defensive. They're going to be good offensively as well. They're going to be a well-coached team. And I think they just kind of showed Milton that. And I think Milton, obviously, Collins Hill, they turn over the ball a lot. So if they can kind of get down on the turnovers, I think they're in any game. I think the game was 13-0 or 13-7 at one point until Milton opened it up. And I think it's just a testament to Collins Hill. I think Milton will be fine. They go to actually Florida. We'll be playing I think Western out there in Davie, Florida. The tournament is actually in Miami, but they'll play them Thursday. So I think they'll be fine. They got the quarterback who's committed to Miami, Luke Nickel. Really impressed me. His progression from I guess year one as a starter to year two. Knows where he wants to go with the football. He's going to be elite for them. All those weapons they got. Ryan Giaz, CJ Wiley, DeBron Gallen, Mark Esley, the running backs, TJ Lester, Shamar Vick. They got some dudes, man. Defensively, Ja'Cory Stewart, Jack Lawson, one of the best secondaries, I think, and possibly in the country. So we'll find out.
Yeah, I think both teams are going to get better from that game. Collins Hill had 6 turnovers and still held strong defensively. You've talked about their size on that decent defensive front. That's going to give a lot of teams problems. They play Brookwood coming up soon. Brookwood looked good running the ball, but if you go up against a big physical defensive front, they're going to force you to pass. And then we have a hell of a matchup coming up in October with Mill Creek and Collins Hill. So we're putting it out there now. I think that will be a really interesting matchup with Cam Robinson
running the ball, that line,
and then getting after Shane Throgmorton.
I think so. I think we bring up a great point. How would that defensive front, as Coach Swick said, 6'3", 250, they're averaging, go against that offensive line that likes to run the football? Oof.
Yeah, big matchup. People are sleeping on that one.
Yes, 100%. And obviously we haven't mentioned it, but big news today as we kind of put out on our Twitter handle, and actually wrote up a story on squaretail.com, Juju Lewis committing to Southern California. If you go back and look, y'all probably won't believe us, but you can go back and roll the tape. We actually said when we talked to him and we thought some places he would go was not going to be Georgia. We thought it was going to be actually out west, either Alabama. And I said, I think we both said, don't be surprised if SC scoops him up. So as we see, he went to USC with head coach. Gosh, I'm running a blank. What's the head coach's name? Why am I drawing a blank? For USC, Lincoln Riley. Thank you, Hayden. I was drawing a blank for whatever reason. I don't know why. But I think it's great for him because I'm not saying he will be the guy going in because obviously they got Caleb Williams in his final season and they're going to have Malachi Nelson for probably a couple of years. But I think it's wide open for Juju to kind of go out there and kind of get it. So I think it's going to be big, man. I mean, obviously we've seen him, week one, and as I told Craig, I thought it was the best game I thought it was the game of the year, right?
Yeah.
Maybe we'll get better games, but I mean, that came all the way down to the end. I thought it was just, some coaching at the end. But I mean, that match between him and Prentice Nolan, it sucks that Bryce Hicks went out. But I mean, that game coming down to the end, he threw it to the flat. I thought if you're a coach and you're kind of talking this up, he had a one-handed catch early in the game, highlight reel catch. Caleb Odom did going to Alabama. Why would you not design a play for him at the end of the game, right? You could throw a jump ball. He's about a good 6'5", close to 6'6". You could have did a play action out the flat. I just don't know why you don't involve your best player. And obviously, Coach King talked about it, and we got to get our best player the ball and stuff like that. So I'm not blaming him, but I'm just saying, hey, Coach, like you got to get your best players the ball. Unequivocally, you got to do that. So big news for him. But what did you think of him going to SC?
I think it's a great move. First, SC gets Isaiah Collier, our best basketball player. Now they're getting our big quarterback prospect. But I thought all along it felt like he was going to go there. Out of all the schools, I think they aren't playing around. We see the quarterback prospects they always have. They're in the Heisman conversation. And I just felt like with that, he's not going to have one of these weird quarterback even conversations about someone else coming in the next year. It's like I feel the same thing. Aaron Nolan going to Ohio State, Georgia, and these other schools. It always seems like people want to bring in like your replacement right behind you and
Pretty
just
much.
scuff things up. So
That's
I
a
think
good point.
they got their guy.
Yes, and I think we've seen that too with kind of Ohio State and Prentice Nolan, right? Kind of the same thing, like not really getting your replacement. I think, as you said, you see that a lot with like the other programs, Georgia's, the Bamas, but you don't really see that as much. Obviously, they bring guys in, but it ain't really your replacement or guy you more likely going to be battling with. So I think that was interesting too. And obviously, thank you, Kerry. His name is Kerry Claiborne. We appreciate the comment too. Yeah, we forgot to mention as well, Andrew Houston.
I don't have necessarily a prediction on this one.
Yeah, I don't have big insight. He's actually pegged to go to Ohio State. I'm not gonna lie, I have been 0 for like 5 or 6 my last couple predictions for the most part. I don't know. I tried to get some.
Alabama.
That's bold. I don't really have a prediction. If I had to say, I think it's between Ohio State and Georgia. I think he likes Georgia. I talked to him at a Funky Cal luncheon. He didn't give me any insight on that. He just said like all schools were great. But I say Georgia because he's grown up here. I think he has a special bond to Georgia. And then he would just solidify them getting another great defensive lineman that like they've been recruiting recently. And I think if you want to be honest, you can peg Georgia's defensive line right? Jalen Carter coming out, Jordan Davis, good edge rusher, and Nolan Smith. So I wouldn't be shocked if he chooses between Ohio State and Georgia. That would be my two top. If I had to say, I think he rolls with Georgia. I could be wrong. I might be 0 for 7. Who cares? It is what it is. But I'm going to roll with Georgia. But we're going to find out today. That's actually going to be announced by Fox 5. I think Rusty's going to have a part in that as well, if I'm not mistaken. So, yeah, I definitely got to go check that out. So, yeah.
Yeah, so his most recent visit among them was Alabama, June 23rd. Looks like they're saying Alabama, Clemson, Georgia, Ohio State, USC. Out of all those, Alabama does have the most defensive linemen on their current roster with 22. I mean, I think any of those would be a good fit. I don't know. I think for some reason I'm pulling Alabama as 95.
Okay, we want to say thank you, man. We appreciate your support. I just put it in there. I did not know you were the voice for the Buford Wolves. That's super cool.
Nice.
If anybody, yeah, we would think you would have a little bit of insight, but I think he's kind of been kind of slow on that and not really allowing a lot of people in besides his close family members to know. So I'm pretty sure a lot of people are asking you about it, but we're gonna find out today. They're getting a great player, man, and y'all got another good dude. With Bryce Perry Wright. Oh my gosh, like it's just like Buford is just churning out these stud defensive linemen. We didn't even mention Nick Mangio as well, but I mean, I heard he's been a force, and he talked a little bit about when I interviewed him, but kind of mentoring him and getting him where he wants him to be, and he thinks he's going to be dangerous as well going into the future. So y'all got some studs, man. Y'all should be good this upcoming season. So that should be fun. But I think that's it for high school. We'll talk a little bit of college football and professional real quick before we wrap the show today. Thanks for everybody that tuned in. And make sure you like, comment, subscribe. That goes a long way helping us out. Um, I guess the big one is just we gotta talk Georgia. They just announced their starting quarterback Carson Beck, who you've seen, Greg, actually in person a lot. So what do you think of that? I think that's been the biggest question mark for some of these SEC teams this year, especially Georgia. Just how good would he be with those weapons? You got Brock Bowers coming back. Heard he got some really good receivers, but can he have Georgia as a national contender yet again?
I think he throws the ball as well as anyone. Uh, Very accurate, automatic. I mean, they're the team to beat. So, in terms of is he going to lead them all the way to the national championship? It's going to be tough. I don't think any other team that challenged him last year is going to be better, though. That's the thing. So,
Mhm. Okay.
yeah, I don't. I mean, look at Alabama. They're still having a quarterback battle. You got Clemson. They have a lot of ground to make up. Ohio State, they don't have Stroud. I don't know. He's just fine. And you're going to see a guy that can definitely throw with a lot of accuracy. We'll see what defenses try to do to get after him. But yeah, they're going to be absolutely loaded.
No, 100%. I mean, me and Craig are very stoked. Obviously, we love high school football, but we're stoked about college football and just can't wait for it to start. I think next week is first game, I think Navy, Notre Dame. But no, man, we are excited to see how it's going to turn out, man. It's going to be a lot of fun. So we're going to keep you obviously updated on that. Craig is covering Georgia. I'm covering Georgia Tech. So as the season goes, we'll give updates around that. And now, obviously, the biggest storylines around college football, whether it's upsets or big storylines or our teams kind of contending for national titles and things like that. So keep it locked for there. We're going to keep it short on the college news. NFL news. I think we got preseason going on. Any big thing from the Chiefs or any big storylines you've seen? Obviously, I've seen Jonathan Taylor. Actually, they given him permission to seek a trade. What do you think would be a good landing spot for him? Obviously, but I didn't see really any major NFL storylines. Maybe I've heard rumors that Stephon Diggs actually wants out of Buffalo, but he confirmed yesterday that's not true.
Interesting.
Yeah.
No, I haven't seen too much in the preseason realm. I know the Bengals were in town recently.
Yeah.
They won that one, didn't they?
Did we lose? Who won that?
It was a
That was
tie. I did
so
see. I was
stupid. Ties are so dumb, especially in preseason. I think Philly tied against the Browns recently too. I think that was 18-18. But I heard our backup QB situation doesn't look too hot. It hasn't been that good. So obviously we'll see. We probably should never let Brendan Allen go. Hopefully we get him back. But yeah, we will find out.
Yeah. God,
We just want Burrow back. That's what it is, man. We just want Burrow back. We want him healthy. If that's week 2, week 3, it doesn't matter. We obviously got a couple division games early on, but we just want our star quarterback back. That's it. Obviously, I didn't know Burrow was that big of a thing. I know he was big, but the fact that he just made national news for just like when he kind of got injured and how everybody was talking about, how that shapes the season. I mean, that goes to show you how big he is in the landscape of NFL football.
yeah, absolutely. And saw some highlights from the Falcons game, just like once the backups go in, and just like the offensive line just getting completely olayed, like not even laying a hand on the defense. So I
No.
don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see, but we'll keep you updated. It's not a lot of news on that forefront, but actually, Kerry, we actually got a game on TV, so actually, you probably will get to see it, get a chance to see me and Craig. Buford plays Marietta on Peachtree TV and 11 first, so Whenever you see Atlanta News First, Picture TV, you'll usually see me and Craig, and obviously Kaylee and Rusty and Brandon Adams and the whole crew. So yeah, we'll be at that game. I'm gonna refrain from comment my thoughts on the game. Yeah, I'm gonna not saying really any too much. Yeah, I'm gonna leave it there. But yeah, you will see us at that game. I'm gonna refrain from comment.
Yeah, that'll be a tough matchup for both teams. No, I'm just kidding. What was the score of that one? Last year, it actually was a close game. I remember that. And then I think it was one of the more low scoring ones.
I don't think it'll be that way this
But yeah, it's going to be tough. I mean, Marietta
No disrespect.
they just had trouble stopping the versatility of that Norcross offense and their big playmakers. And you look at some of the guys that Buford has matching up with your KJ Boldens, it's going to be a very, very tough matchup.
Yeah, it doesn't ring the bell for me. I would prefer maybe like Collins Hill or Mill Creek them playing. I think that would just not saying Buford wouldn't, handle them or whatever, but I think it would just be a lot more fun. My personal thoughts. But I guess last thing before we wrap, Craig, is there any big week 2 matchups? Obviously, we got our Great Atlanta Bash. If you guys are subscribed to us, definitely stay tuned for that. That would be a lot of fun. We got Carver Atlanta versus Calhoun. We got Douglas County versus Mays. We got Douglas versus Booker T. And then we got Jackson Atlanta versus Miller Grove. So a lot of good matchups. But any week 2 matchups that you were kind of excited to see, you kind of got circled on your list is like any marquee games we should watch for.
Collins Hill Westlake.
Ooh, yeah, that'd be a good one. Okay.
Let's see. You got Meadow Creek Peachtree Ridge. Let's see how Meadow Creek bounces back. I mean, Coach Wofford and his guys were not happy with the result of that first one. Peachtree Ridge played a kind of green, brand new second-year team, so that'll be definitely tougher competition for both of them.
I like Ridge. I know Coach Wofford watches our show, and I took Ridge to win the region. I know they got Norcross in there too, I believe. But
oh, sorry, I'm 2 weeks ahead. Let's see. These are going to be in September. Let's go to August. My bad.
Lord,
this is what pulled up. But yeah, those will be good matchups.
Yeah, I think Darnell Kelly's the real deal. And obviously, he was on ESPN radar too.
Yeah, that was September 20th. All right, so this weekend.
What you got?
Start with the confusion. Let's see.
Yeah, I'll notate these. These are going to be good. So if you have nothing to do Friday night, go check out these games. I think Brookwood Walton is a kind of slept-on game. Obviously, the physicality that Brookwood likes to play with against Walton. You could think maybe that'll be a letdown game for Walton. Obviously, we know how good they are. But a lot of people, I'm not saying I think this, but people may think it may be a letdown game, especially with how physical they are, how they came out and set the tone against Grayson. That could be one of those games you might, obviously it's home for Walton. I don't think this will happen. I'm just saying I think people will probably say, okay, hey, how does Brookwood match up against Walton? I think Walton will set the tone again, but I think that's an intriguing matchup.
For sure. Norcross Mill Creek.
Yes. 100%.
Definitely a top one.
That game was on ESPN last year as well. Both got great teams. How will the Mill Creek secondary match up against Jamari Harold? Just a question in there. And these matches does AJ Watkins pose for that Mill Creek defense? And can Norcross stop the run? Can they stop Cam Robinson and make it difficult and make kind of Shane Throckmorton pass the ball a little bit more? Not saying he can, he definitely can, but a lot of their bread and butter is running the football and kind of that play action. So
yeah, definitely that Norcross defense is gonna have to stop that run.
Yes.
Obviously, Buford Mallard Creek. Let's see what happens with that one. Houston County Perry. Houston County just cruised to that win against. God, I forgot who they played, but AJ Hill was 16 of 16 passing. Perry actually played them very close last year. It was a 1-point game. This will be the season opener for Perry. Second game of the year for Houston County. Perry is very young, though. Their starting quarterback is the guy that transferred over from Peach County. Highly recruited guy, but they'll be very young. I think Houston County might just take that one early on. Let's see. Jonesboro and Cartersville. Let's see how good this Jonesboro team is. That's
a heck of a matchup.
Tough matchup. Cartersville against Jonesboro. Woodward and McCallie one. That will be a big one.
Oh, I think a good one Craig kinda skimmed over a little bit, Pike Road versus Marist.
Yep.
Marist lost their first game, but battled against Gainesville really well. Pike Road's a really good team out there in Alabama. How would they look? Really good guys. Julius Lane, playing for Pike Road. They got some studs. Got to see them up close in person at the Hoover tournament. They got some guys. So I think how will Marist look? Can they rebound from that week one loss?
Absolutely. Bainbridge and Coffee. That is going to be a heck of a game.
Yes.
Bainbridge looked so good week one. I think they might shake up 4A, and then Coffee's been outstanding in Class 5A. GSC and Lovett. Lovett got steamrolled by Westminster week one. They will definitely look to bounce back from that. Cass Rockmart. Rockmart's a really tough team. Cass is going to have to play well to come out of that one.
True.
Coney County Clark Central, great rivalry game right there. Let's see if there's any down in 3A. Yeah, Fellowship Christian and Trinity Christian.
that'll be a good one too.
That'll be good
for sure.
Then Westminster and Pace Academy lost a tough one to Holy Innocents this past Friday night. Prince Avenue against Nashville Christian.
That'll be a good one too.
Yeah, a lot of games, and then some Saturday matches as well.
So that's all we got for y'all. Appreciate you tuning in. Early County versus Seminole County. Yeah, that'll be an interesting one too, Kerry. For sure, 100%. So thanks, man, for always tuning in. Good luck to Buford this upcoming week. We think they'll obviously handle business against Mallard Creek, but man, I think 7A is going to be so much fun. So many great teams. Will be a lot of fun, man. But that's all we got for today. Thank you for spending your Tuesday with us. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll be back with more news. We have a lot of work to do. So we'll see you guys later on. Have a great rest of your week. Craig will be back tomorrow for his show, drop his state title, and I'll be back with my show on Thursday. Keeping it with Najeh because if Friday, Craig will conclude his show. So thanks for tuning in. We'll see you guys later on.